Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pessolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries. Eric, we have reached another milestone, the 25th show of Drafting the Magic. It took a little longer than we expected it to, but here we are, episode 5 of this season 2, and I have still yet to win an episode, so I'm hoping this is the day, Eric.
Yeah, 25 shows. Am I supposed to get you a gift? I don't know how this works. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what the color is or anything. Anyway.
All right, we'll worry about that later. Yeah, I'm just going to try to keep this thing going. This is a big topic today. Really, I mean, you know, we're going lands at the Disneyland Resort, and there's 17 of them that we can select from. We got a pretty good rule. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I just think that this is going to be tough, and we both got to be on our game, and it's going to take a special judge to try to help us get through this.
Yeah, it will. And again, everything counts in this, right? This isn't just an attraction show or a food show.
Yep.
This is everything. And theme park oddities that they are of attractions, foods, whatever. You also have merchandise. You also have meet and greets and everything else. So I'm really excited for this episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you that. I'm already nervous because I'm looking at my list and there's 2 or 3 ways I could go with every single pick. So it's all just going to figure out where the dominoes fall. But our guest judge today, I mean, you know, you think we have good voices, but this guy might have the best voice of them all.
Callan McClurg, the public address announcer extraordinaire, joining us here on the show. Callan, thanks for being here. You have a soft spot in my heart. I know you're at the San Diego Gulls games regularly. I've been to like 2 of them that I got to call and sit alongside you over there. So I'm going to mention that team. But thanks for joining us. I know you're a big Disney guy, so welcome to the show.
Oh, this is perfect. It's right down our alley. You know, we got 3 sports guys here. I'm kind of bummed we're not ranking like Disney sports movies or Disney sports television shows, but this is right down our alley, though, sharing the love for sports and for Disney. And thank you guys so much for having me. I know we've been working on this for quite a while, but it's great to actually be a part of the program and be a part of the show.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making, Callan, for all of us here with Drafting the Magic, all 2 of us. But you're right, this is a 3 sports guy show, and that's what this was really intended for, and so I'm glad we get to do it. And Eric, we have never had a 5-episode winning streak in the history of Drafting the Magic, but you are on the verge of just that, sir.
Well, I'm going to do the best I can. This is a massive, massive category. So this is one that I really can't fail at. But I'm going to do the best I can because there are so many different aspects to all of the lands themselves. So, you know, this isn't just picking attractions there. This is now the whole enchilada. So we'll see how this goes.
Callan, what do you think of just the topic in general, this broad topic of the lands of the Disneyland Resort?
Well, I mean, it's their core memories. I mean, they are the fabric of what makes California Adventure and Disneyland, I think, really operate. And I recall best about watching the Imagineering story so many times about how everything is supposed to fit into the theme of the land. Like you're not supposed to be hearing Star Wars music, for example, on Main Street or in Fantasyland. You're not supposed to be hearing, you know, like certain sounds, certain smells, even for that matter, churros on Main Street or beignets from New Orleans Square or anything over in California Adventure. Like bread bowls should only be served on the wharf, you know, San Francisco Square pretty soon. So they're the fabric of what I think really brings or what meshes all, you know, the parks together. And this is going to be an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one here today, Christian and Callan. And, you know, we have to introduce the rule that we have to abide by. Now, normally the one that we always say is you have to have experienced it in person. I don't think that's going to be an issue today. However, the big rule today, This one was Christian's idea. I will give him the credit for that one, or at least he brought it up to me. I don't know if there's any outside influence, but you have to alternate your picks between the two parks. So that's for the first 4 rounds. This will ensure that we're picking 2 from each park to balance things out. And then your 5th one can be a wild card. So it can be from either park. It doesn't matter. So that should give us a pretty good list. And Christian, this is another one of those episodes where there is a limited number of things that can be selected here. So I'm sure there's going to be a few things left out that people are going to be upset about.
Yeah, the real fun will be if I mean, let's be honest, Disneyland does have more lands, I believe, officially. So if you and I were to both, I mean, we're both doing 2 from California Adventure and 2 from Disneyland, but if you and I were both to do 3 from Disney California Adventure, you're starting to pick at the ones that are just on the list because it's part of the list. So I think that's why it's actually a great idea that we have that 5th round kind of be a wild card because we might be slim pickings at, I don't know, Paradise Gardens Park or something at the end of this. So we'll I'm not saying that that's not my number 1 pick. It could be, but it's probably not going to be regardless. Callan, what do you think of that rule? Kind of makes things interesting.
It makes things interesting, but at least it's like a fair balance of 2 from Disneyland, 2 from California Adventure. The wild card rule, I absolutely love it. So yeah, that will be a good little, like maybe one that makes someone's head explode. Who knows?
Well, right. One thing's for sure, I can't pick Australia this week, so we should.
Yeah, well, you might as well take it because you somehow got to win. Anyway, I'm not bitter about last week. Actually, I'm not bitter. I'm furious. I'm absolutely irate, but that's not important. What's important is we're moving on to this week. We're moving on to Disneyland Resort Lands here at the Disneyland Resort. And Eric, how about we start it off? You have the number 1 pick in this draft, and boy, this could decide the draft. This is one of those that this could even decide the draft. I'm excited to see where you go. I know the people are too, so I believe you're officially on the clock.
I have to, in all good conscience, with my number 1 pick, take the absolute heart and soul of the entire resort. And Christian probably figured I would go here at number 1. It's a place I know well. I spent some time in my career there, a short period of time. I'm taking Fantasyland as my number 1 pick in drafting the Magic here today because, like I said, heart and soul of the park. I mean, that's once the rope drops, that's where everybody sprints to. They go right up through the castle, and then they make a pit stop to drop off their strollers, and then they run right onto Peter Pan's flight. So that's that's usually the number 1 stop for most people. I had to go with Fantasyland as my number 1 pick. And we're talking about lands here. It's not just attractions, right? It's not just food. It's not just retail. But when you put all of those things into one, first of all, they got a baked potato and a sausage in there. So that's top of my list every single time. Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, if we're talking retail, I mean, that's quite the unique location. So you add all those in with all the attractions. Everybody knows them. I won't waste my time mentioning them all, but that's my number 1 choice.
That is exactly what I thought you were going to take. I even pre-gamed this with my wife, and she said, I don't know if Eric's going to go there. And I said, no, he's going Fantasyland with round 1, the first overall pick. And I think it's a good pick. Callan, what do you think of Fantasyland going top shelf?
Again, because Eric laid it out that it's the whole entire land we're talking about. So it's not just, certain rides or shops or dining. I agree with the stance about Fantasyland because if they're not rushing towards Galaxy's Edge or rushing towards Tomorrowland for Space Mountain, I think of families that will rush to Fantasyland, as Eric alluded to, dropping off strollers after they go to Starbucks on Main Street or go to the lockers. But I think of all the families who will go and take their kids on Peter Pan, on the carousel, on the canal boats, or go through the castle walkthrough, or go stand in line for castle pictures if they're a couple or if they're a family. So maybe not a surprise, but, there was always the saying that Walt's favorite lane was Fantasyland. So really not a surprise to see it go number 1 overall.
Yeah, Eric,
Had to do it. I had to do it.
That's a land I have spent so much time in recently now with a
That's
1-year-old.
That's
And
right.
the amount of times I've been on It's a Small World are probably more in the last probably 2 years than I had in my entire life. And all I think of when I go to Fantasyland is tripping over strollers. So it's not that great of a memory there. But regardless, a good first round pick. And so now it comes to me with the second overall pick in the first round. And everybody knows my heart and soul really lies in Disney California Adventure. Everybody knows about the amount of time that I spent in Disney California Adventure. And so that's why I'm not going there with my first pick. Instead, I'm taking Eric's heart and soul, and I am taking New Orleans Square off the board. I thought you might go Fantasyland. I wanted to cherry pick it. You've got Haunted Mansion. You've got Pirates of the Caribbean. Of course, it's now expanding, and we're going to have some more things going on there with Tiana's Place coming in and everything else that's going on in New Orleans Square. I think the decor is sometimes second to none. I think they very much decorate that area. And it goes, I mean, we've talked about it in the past. We're going to do a decorations show at some point. We're going to do that. But right now, it kind of comes into that. The stores, they've got the jewelry shops, the perfume shops, everything in there. It's amazing. And Eric, I'm taking your New Orleans Square off the board with the second overall pick, my first round pick. And I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty excited about it.
I want Callan's thoughts first because
okay.
I have thoughts also, and I don't want to influence his decision because I play this game fair and honest, aside from the time I tried to cheat 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Callan, what do you think?
Callan, your thoughts?
Oh, New Orleans Square, I always think of it, though, during like the holiday season. I think about it when you have the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay. I think of that, but then I think about, though, as well, the feeling of Mardi Gras being almost like a year-round thing when you go to New Orleans Square, whether it's in Mardi Gras season or not, though. But then you think about, like we said, though, this probably, New Orleans Square probably has two of the most iconic rides in the entire park with both the mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. I think about it mainly about how quickly the Pirates line moves. It could be a 30-minute wait, but you're not really standing still and, standing in one place with concrete feet. But then, dining options, I think of the churros, I think of the popcorn, I think of, being around there, but also, the shopping. Me and my girlfriend went through the new Tiana's mom shop on last Tuesday when we were at the park, though, about how they had all the, recipes and stuff actually from New Orleans. And then going to the Pandora jewelry shop, though, and then the Blue Bayou, probably everyone's go-to sit-down restaurant for someone's birthday or a graduation or celebrating a family occasion. So 2 very good lands are off the board already. I like it.
All right, and now for my thoughts. I love it. I think you took it way too early.
Wow.
That's just my honest opinion. I think you could have gotten it later.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Interesting. All right.
I didn't have it on my list.
What the?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Just being real.
Once again,
Yep.
I'm stunned, and we'll move on to the round 2, Eric. And with the third overall draft pick, you have to go to Disney California Adventure.
I do, which also, again, you never cease to stun me. I thought you would go in that park first because it's you, but you didn't. So kudos for switching it up. This one's tough. I think this one is on your list. I do. I don't know how early. I think the theming here is second to none throughout both parks. I had to go Fantasyland because it's the heart and soul of the place, and now that I have to go to the other park, I'm going to go with the technically second newest land in the entire place, and I'm going with Cars Land at number 2 here. Like I said, theming. It has an e-ticket attraction that everybody loves. I haven't been on it in, I don't know, it's been a very long time just because of the popularity of it. And then it's got another 2 attractions in there that, are a little bit more tame for the whole entire family. So you can see this whole family theme I'm sticking with here. And there's an an entire ride dedicated to the Italian theme, which is, you know, near and dear to my heart. So that's got to go in there too. Shout out to all my paisanos out there. So, and it's the details, right? It's the details in this place. I mean, between flows, and I think one that I think every diehard Disney fan knows about is the blinking stoplight right in the middle of the intersection that made a references in the movie, in the original. So Cars Land has to be my pick here at number 2, and I'm really hoping I stole a pick away from you, Ilton.
You know, I will tell you that my whole plan, I'll just tell you the plan right now. If you had gone New Orleans number 1, I was going to take Cars Land. New Orleans was, I thought, my value pick if I could get it at number 1. But Cars Land would have been a close second. And it is, I agree with you on all your points. The detailing in that land, it's one of those, and you know, we talk about, and I'm sure Callan can weigh in on this part too. You talk about the original lands, and we'll go into more of those, I would assume. But with Cars Land, it was one of the first lands where they had to do it perfect. They had to get it right because you had such a successful movie. And I think even Cars 2 was coming out right around when Cars Land opened. So you had this successful thing. You had to make it perfect, and they somehow outdid my expectations for it. Callan, what do you think of Cars Land?
Christian, I agree with your point, but I will add to that Cars Land is what saved California Adventure, if you ask me. Because I think we all, 3 of us, think back to when 2001 hit and California Adventure opened, but the lack of e-ticket rides, the lack of children's rides, the lack of a central hub, the lack of e-ticket rides, the lack of a lot of things that were lacking across the walkway over at Disneyland, and that they needed a shot in the arm almost a decade later to revive this struggling theme park. And I think both you and Erik are right, though, that Disney had to do something, you know, not just out of the world, though, but it had to be perfectly done. And I think the attention to detail of Radiator Springs Racers, it looks just like Cadillac Ranch in Texas. The theming and the detail, trying to bring back the flying saucers in a brand new way, though it didn't work out with the flying tires with Luigi. But I think about like Disney putting you in the movie environment. Like you're literally walking down the main road of Radiator Springs Racers. You're walking by Flo's V8. You're walking by the giant butte in the middle of Radiator Springs Racers. You're seeing all the, you know, the Cozy Cone Motel, of course, and their mac and cheese in a traffic cone, for God's sakes. And then you even think about the Toy Story Easter egg inside the Cozy Cone 2 from Toy Story 2. So they had to absolutely do something like this to keep that theme park, I think, alive. So it wasn't, you know, torn down after 8-10 years of service. And I really think Cars Land is what saved California Adventure. So I think Erik is onto a very, you know, you both are actually on very, very valid tangents about Cars Land.
I was shocked when in the Imagineering story, they said, okay, here's the thing. We figured it out. We didn't do it right. They went back to the roots in parts of the park. They opened up Cars Land, which they knew was going to be successful off of that movie. And so, Erik, that's a good second round pick.
I really thought you were going to go there, number 1, if I may be honest myself.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, you know, we talk about California Adventure, and since I have the next pick, and I have to go to California Adventure, this works as a great segue, I suppose. You talk about California Adventure and the necessary things that have happened in that park, and going with IP. It's not even a question. I think that Avengers Campus has to be next on this list. And it's not because of the attractions, because you look at Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, it's amazing. It's been there already, but it's amazing. And then you look at Spider-Man Web Slingers, or Web Slingers, a Spider-Man Experience, whatever the official title of that attraction is. It's good. It's not my favorite ride, but Disney accomplished something that I think they failed to do in Galaxy's Edge, over on the Disneyland side. There's always stuff going on. the characters are out. There is the Pym Test Kitchen is always buzzing. You've got stuff going on, and Pym Test Kitchen, for that matter, is not tough to get into as much as it would be on the other side, getting into Oga's Cantina or something like that. I just think that they did such a great job with Avengers Campus. And yes, there's that e-ticket attraction that's been already rethemed somehow coming in the future. And yes, there's still stuff to do there. But Avengers Campus is a themed land for, I'll give it to you. They did the cookie cutter thing of, oh, it's a place where all the Avengers come. And look, this is where the Avengers come, so they can include all of the thousands of characters that the Marvel franchises have. I think they did a great job. And so that's why, might be a little bit high, Avengers Campus is going as the 4th overall pick in this draft, Eric.
Yeah, I don't think it was high, to be honest with you, because I had Avengers Campus as my backup, thinking you were going to take Cars Land at 1. So I don't think it was high at all. I think it's a great selection. I love that place. And I think you hit the nail on the head saying it's not just about it's about the immersion, right? The characters are walking around. There's the different shows you can just happen upon, right? There's not a lot of, sure, there's a couple of character meet and greets that are scheduled that you can find on the app, but for the most part, you could just be roaming around. And next thing you turn around and, I don't know, Ant-Man's right there, whoever. And the fact that they switch out and rotate the characters that show up whenever, series or movie debuts. Next thing you know, the big character from that film, if they're not already there, they're showing up the next day. I'm very excited to see if Secret Invasion is going to have somebody show up here over in a few weeks. So I think it's a great pick at 2 for you. I would have gone there if I were you myself. And Callan, what do you think about Avengers Campus?
It's only fitting that Disney puts their 2 most recent IP acquisitions, Star Wars and Marvel, in both of their theme parks in Anaheim. But I think that you both are again on the right point. Maybe more Christian is on the right point, because him and I actually talked about this on a Marvel podcast I was hosting about a year or so ago, about how the Avengers Campus, for me, is a stark difference from Galaxy's Edge, because we're just going to keep Galaxy's Edge confined to what Disney made. Let's not mention anything about the original prequel or the originals or the prequels. It's all going to be, 7, 8, 9, and the TV shows that we make. But with the Avengers Campus, you have everybody in there, basically everyone, villains and heroes alike, all able to be a part of this, property in Disney California Adventure at the campus. And I agree with Eric, though, is that there's so much energy, there's so much kinetic movement with the campus, because you could be walking in and you could be seeing, Captain America and Captain Marvel, for example, on top of the HQ building, waving at people, or the Black Widow's out wandering around by the Guardians of the Galaxy building. And then you never know when you may, in fact, see, the Avengers Assemble show. You may see the Spider-Man, robot. And I agree with Christian on the food aspect, though. I kind of am craving a peanut butter, candied bacon, and banana and jelly sandwich right now from the campus, and the little teeny tiny small little smoothie we get with the tater tots. But I definitely agree, though. And it's not really surprising, I think, because, Christian, you and I talked about this, like I said earlier in this segment, about how, for a long time, Marvel was out of place because they were on top of the Innovations building in Disneyland, and they got booted to Hollywoodland for a bit. And there was really not a set place for them to be until they built the campus. And I do also love, though, and I know that we all probably, you guys probably have already done a pod already about like your favorite Disney tributes that they leave behind to like honor the past. Who knows if they'll do that with Splash Mountain with Tiana's Bayou, but the lights being up at the test kitchen for A Bug's Land, the Bountiful Valley Farm Company having their ads on the ketchup and mustard bottles inside the restaurant. Those little, tributes are what always make me smile when I go to Disneyland or California Adventure. But, having a land that helps save California Adventure in Cars Land, then having the second biggest acquisition that Disney made on top of it in round 2, very solid start to this draft by far and away.
All right, so two good picks out of the first two rounds. We are Christian. Let's just toot our own horn here for a second. We are off to a much better start than last episode.
Listen,
Hell-
all right. I don't think we got off to a bad start last episode. It's just that the guest judge doesn't hate us. So, look, love Lizzie. She was great. Can't wait to have her back. But, you know, Callan, it's just nice that you haven't shown up to our doors with pitchforks and torches yet, because that's how it felt on the last draft. So, anyway.
Oh, goodness.
let's not get it twisted. She deserved to feel that way.
Oh, yeah.
We were terrible. We were terrible. We can have went up to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
I
go to
didn't
round
think it
three,
was that
shall
bad.
we? I do. Let's go to round three. I got to go back to Disneyland because I just took Cars Land with my second pick, so I'll go back. Callan mentioned Avengers Campus, the second biggest acquisition. I mean, I got to go with the biggest acquisition, and I know it's a little controversial, but I'm going to take it here at 3. Look, you either love it or you hate it. I really haven't ran into a ton of people that are like in middle ground, but you know, who is anymore about anything nowadays? But the most people I've talked to have really enjoyed Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. You've got the biggest and perhaps the best e-ticket attraction on the entire resort. You've got Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run is, I think it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing, I guess. It's another one of those you love it or you hate it, or you just think it's Star Tours on steroids. But I mean that attraction really is something that is a different experience every time you go on it, just because it's so interactive. You can go build your own lightsaber and have this experience. You can go into any of the retail locations and feel like you've entered a shop on Batuu. You know, something that, like Callan mentioned, you haven't seen on screen yet, really. But I mean, there are characters. Everybody loves interacting with the stormtroopers. We see it all the time. Oga's is great. I know it's difficult to get into sometime, but if you do get in there, I mean, the cast are amazing. The drinks are awesome. DJ Rex is in there spinning tunes. I mean, all in all,
Where are the brakes?
Somebody who used to, be employed at Star Tours. I heard it over there for a long time too, and then got to hear it rehashed a little bit at Oga's. But I'll take Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at number 3.
You know, I will reserve my thoughts on this pick until after Callan gives his thoughts. I know if anybody who watches or listens to our show is friends with Callan on social media or follows him, he knows he's a pretty big star. They know he's a pretty big Star Wars guy, and he does enjoy going to Batuu. Callan, let's hear it.
You know, I know a lot of people feel torn, and I'm probably that way though too, because it's like they literally just dropped Star Wars into Disneyland. Like, I think anyone out there who's watched the films, the originals, the prequels, sequels, or even, streaming shows in general, you're like, wow, it'd be cool to like go and visit that. And then they actually build it and open it. And, it kind of sucks that it had such the bad review when it first opened, because, Rise wasn't ready yet. It was only the Falcon. It gets extremely hot in the summer because it's supposed to feel like, there's no shade, there's no this, there's no that. But I can tell you this though, from someone who was captured by the First Order in my the first times I'd gone, and I have pictures in my Google Drive of all these people surrounding me as I'm being, paraded in front, up towards Kylo's TIE fighter by the stormtroopers, and just thinking like, look at how this crowd is reacting. Like, look at how they are gravitating towards seeing this happen. I've built lightsabers in California and in Florida, but I think even for me, it's more special. So my girlfriend is a member of a performance group for Star Wars here locally in San Diego. I took her for the first time ever last August, and seeing her face light up as we are walking through Galaxy's Edge. We're drinking blue milk. We're watching the Kylo Ren encounter start. We're walking through. She's building a lightsaber. We're taking couple pictures together at night in front of the Falcon, in front of the giant cast member wall by Rise of the Resistance. But seeing the pure joy on her face, and as much as we both love Star Wars, but seeing a first-timer go to Galaxy's Edge, someone who loves the franchise as much as I do, being able to share that with them was, absolutely special. And every time that we've gone back, we've done a couple pictures and stuff. But regardless, I think Eric's right, though. It's about the experience of the blue milk, the Ronto wraps, seeing Rey and Chewie and the Rebel spy, Kylo and the stormtroopers out and about. And then being able to pilot the Millennium Falcon. Like, who out there that watched the first ever movies, like, I would love to be the pilot of that thing. We actually piloted it last time we went to the park. She was in charge of going up and down. I went left and right. But still, though, being able to feel like you're actually piloting the Millennium Falcon. And then Rise of the Resistance, I know it has its problems when it breaks down, though, but it's the immersion. It's almost like taking the People Mover or the Haunted Mansion stretching room and morphing them into one big old e-ticket ride. And then you have, the trackless ride system like Ratatouille, or even the Aquatopia in Tokyo, how it's like a giant Roomba you're sitting on following these magnets. But again, stormtroopers firing at you, the animatronics of Hux and Ren, though, and then Ren's lightsaber actually coming through the elevator as you're moving on to the next thing. Seeing John Boyega's stormtrooper undercover, like, for a minute, I thought that was actually him the first ever time I got to go on it in Florida. So I think Erik is onto a lot of great points, though. But like Fry, though, it just sucks, though, that Disney only made it to fit their sequel and fit their shows, and not really including Luke Skywalker, including Han Solo, including the original series, the prequels, even, where it could be like the Avengers camps, where it could be like a living, breathing Star Wars ecosystem. But I like the concept of what they did, introducing a brand new property, or a brand new planet, I should say. But, I think that some things could have been done differently, but I kind of caught where Disney was going, though. But even then, I spent a lot of time there when I'm at the park, not because of my girlfriend, but even before then, I would spend a lot of time there because it was just the immersion. Because I think we all know, you can't hear a whole lot outside of the property, with the exception of the Mark Twain Riverboat's whistle. That's about it, because you're hearing the transmissions, the music, even from the cantina, the ships coming in or landing with transmissions. Like, they literally put you into the middle of this Star Wars planet. Like, I don't know what else that we could ask for, other than maybe add in stuff from previous films, other than just what you guys did.
Okay, here we go. Here's my thoughts. And Callan makes a lot of great points about all the interactiveness and the amazingness that is Rise of the Resistance. I don't like the land. I really don't. I think that it was a miss. I think that they put all their eggs in one basket, and now they have to look at that basket and go, "Oh, well, the Mandalorian goes here too. You guys like that? Here, go look at the Mandalorian." I think that it is one of the greatest themed areas. I think it's fantastic. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Not in the, oh, it doesn't fit at Disneyland thing. It doesn't fit for I don't know, like a land experience to me, in that there are some lands that we will certainly get to on this list that I go through every single time I go to Disneyland. I have to go here. I have to go there.
Absolutely.
We recently went last week, actually, and it was the first time I stepped foot on Batuu in multiple trips, because it's just not a necessary hit for me. And I love Star Wars. I do thoroughly enjoy. I stayed up to watch every single episode of The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I was watching those at midnight. When I go to Galaxy's Edge, I just don't get the necessary Star Wars feels I think they expected. And I know there's some that do. And so certainly, this is very much Erik, you said it, this is a controversial one. And I think some people will think this is great and that it should have gone higher. I would even say that there are some that would say it shouldn't even be on a top 10 list. And it's one of those that could be bounced. But for the theming and everything else, EP, I'll give it to you. I'll say good pick.
And thank goodness I only have one person to please.
Yeah, and
it's not you.
Yeah, and it's not me, because otherwise you would have already lost. But that leaves me into my third pick. This is the 6th overall pick of this Disneyland Parks, or Disneyland Resort Lands, of the entire, you know what I mean. And I am going to go to one that you must, actually, technically you don't, never mind. But 99.9% of the guests that walk into Disneyland must walk down Main Street, USA. And that is going to be my 6th overall pick. The attractions, certainly there aren't many that are going to stick out to some. You do have great moments with Mr. Lincoln. You have the nostalgia of the vehicles on Main Street. But there is that Disneyland feel that you cannot replicate if you're walking down Main Street, USA. And it is so still in that Walt Disney era. You feel like you're in a different time, in a different place. And Main Street, USA is where, I mean, goodness gracious, how many people can say they've had their photo taken on Main Street? Either, sure, Magic Kingdom, but at the Disneyland Resort specifically for this draft, it's the number is unreal, and it's why it's stuck around for over 65 years. Main Street, USA is my 6th, or I guess the 6th overall, my 3rd pick in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, you need Main Street, otherwise you're not getting into the park unless you somehow take the monorail in and go to Tomorrowland.
Exactly. That's why I was like,
the alternate route from downtown Disney. But no, I mean, I think more of Main Street of like you said, Christian, this is your entry to escape from work, get away from the stress in your life, and go and be a 10-year-old kid again, going with friends, with family, celebrating your birthday, celebrating your wedding anniversary or what have you. And, me and my friends, Matt and Jeremy, we have a tradition when we first walk in, we stop and take a picture of the plaque above the archway that says that, here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. That is our tradition. Then as you walk in, though, and you get the feel of what Walt Disney's hometown looked like back when he was growing up in Marceline, Missouri. And then I always think, though, about when my parents would tell me stories about Mr. Lincoln, about how people would huck their change at it because it looked like a real person. I think that was touched upon in the Imagineering story as well. But then you get to see, the classic characters like, Mickey and Minnie are usually out. Goofy's out. Pluto is usually out. You think about when, all the, when the characters are out. I actually think back, though, to a couple Halloweens ago when all the villains came out on Main Street during the course of the Halloween season. But if there's one thing I love most about Main Street, it's the railroad. That is a thing that I try to get on at least once. I love it so much. I made Jack Wagner saying, "Your attention, please," my text tone on my phone whenever I have my phone on, because that's just how much that Main Street really means, because the railroad, but also, loving Disney so much, or Disneyland so much. But, Main Street is your opening chapter, because once you get to the hub, okay, we heading left? We're going to go straight? We're going to go to the right? Or are we just going to hang out here? But of course, and also perfect spot to watch the fireworks as well, unless you're watching it over on the Rivers of America.
And that's the thing, is that you think about everything. I'm sorry. And even when let's be honest, I'm a former cast member. Even when I worked there, I told people, don't watch the fireworks from the Rivers of America. Don't watch it in front of It's a Small World. Sure, they've created some cool you are supposed to stand on Main Street to watch the fireworks over the castle, and that entire experience. I mean, I can think of so many memories just on Main Street. It was the churro smell that you walk through, and the popcorn,
absolutely,
and the everything, and seeing Walt's apartment and seeing the lamp always on, and just all the cherished memories there. So, Eric, I'm taking Main Street here at 6th overall. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not bad. I had it up there. I didn't have it on my list. I thought about it, calling an audible. So I'm glad that you made the choice for me, essentially.
No, you're
so
welcome.
I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, thanks. No, I think you're right. It's your introduction to a historical place, and a place that takes you out of the real world. And even though it's modeled after a place that actually exists, it's more the allure behind it. And there was one thing that, and again, being a cast member also, that there's one thing that it makes you feel like you've lived there your whole life, or you've been there before, even if you've never been there. So it almost makes you feel like you're home, even though you've never been to Missouri, or you just, it's that every town. So no, I like the pick at 3. I think that's good job on your part.
Oh, well, thank you. And that leads us into round 4. This is the last stipulation round. And you, Erik, with the 7th overall pick in this draft, must go to Disney. Well, we both do. We both have to go to California Adventure this round. So now we're getting slim on Disney California Adventure. I would say we're getting slim on draft-worthy lands in Disney California Adventure. There's more lands, but we're not going to take all of them. I can guarantee it. So we'll see. Where are you going to go with your with your 4th round pick?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure people are going to be stunned by this one. I mean, you've got an e-ticket, you've got a couple of C tickets, you've got a table service, you've got a lot of quick service options. It's our peer here. I don't see the remaining lands anything that has the gravitas that this one does. I mean, you see Mickey's Fun Wheel when you come out from the other side of the lake, and
no, it's the Death Wheel.
Yeah, that everybody screams on if you ride one of the swinging gondolas. Toy Story Midway Mania is one of my favorite attractions of all time because I'm very, very competitive. Incredicoaster is a lot of fun. Incredicoaster, shockingly enough, is the first attraction I ever went on in my life that had an inversion in it because I was scared to death of them when I was a kid. And
I'm not alone.
Yeah, and it was my introduction to that world. And then literally 2 weeks later, I went to Six Flags and did everything. So it really broke the seal for me there. But with all the options in the land, and it may be a little bit light on entertainment. There's a couple of character meet and greets every now and again. You got Bing Bongs over there, a good retail location, and just the pier atmosphere itself. I'm going Pixar Pier at number 4.
It's a good pick, and for all the reasons that you mentioned, and I have been very critical of Disney and let's just paint it and call it something else, because that's all they seem to be doing. And even with Tiana's Bayou coming up, in my mind, that's let's just paint it and change the facade a little bit and then call it something else. I want to see new things, but I think Pixar Pier was done very well. I think that the Incredicoaster coming off of California Screamin', everybody loved California Screamin'. I don't know many who didn't. Incredicoaster is a great coaster, and they were able to add theme on a regular roller coaster. They themed it, and it gave it a storyline, even though they didn't change the layout of the coaster at all. I do think that I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of I keep calling it the Cove Bar. But I don't know. I mean,
Lamplight.
Lamplight. I'll go there every once in a while, but I'm not the biggest fan of Lamplight. I do love Toy Story Mania. That's been documented on this show many a time. I hate the emotional whirl around. I think that Flix Flyers getting a paint job was possibly the worst attraction they could have chosen from that land to give a paint job. But regardless, I do think Pixar Pier is a good pick, but it's not my opinion. It's Callan's opinion that you need. So Callan, what do you think of Pixar Pier here?
Man, I'm probably the man on the island who wishes that they would have left the pier alone, because it really had that feel of what they were trying, I think, to do in 2001, of this picturesque postcard themed theme park based off of California. And you think about Santa Monica, you think about Santa Cruz, you think about Belmont Park here in my hometown of San Diego, with the Giant Dipper being open since the 1920s, that is, of course, not recently. But you think about like the Victorian era, you think about, you think about peak California surf culture, you think about peak California amusement culture before 1955 and before, the park opened. And, I think about Santa Monica, I think about Santa Cruz, Belmont Park, you name those three. And I'm probably one of the very few who wishes that it would have been Paradise Pier, though I was absolutely mortified. And I think my uncle thought he killed me on the Maliboomer many years ago.
Oh, rest in pieces.
But, and then, the Fun Wheel, the Pal Around, whatever it's called now, Sun Wheel, Fun Wheel, Pal Around.
The Pal Around.
But
I said whirl around for the Inside Out one. I've been corrected by someone who's on the other side of the wall that it is the emotional whirl around, or Whirlwind. What?
Whirlwind.
Who
Whirlwind.
cares? The
There you
ride's
go.
terrible. Anyway, Callan.
But I remember though that I was I went the day that California Screaming closed. And it was a little sombering, like Erik said, though, because I had a fear of roller coasters, and that was one of the first ones that broke my fear because of the inversions. But I think Christian is onto a great point, though, that despite, maybe, just paint over it, redo it, they did a really good job, though, of adding Pixar flavor. And I think adding another one of the most notable IPs into one of the parks with Pixar, because everyone loves The Incredibles, I'd say. We all love Monsters, Inc. We all love Toy Story, that's for sure. I remember Matt one time almost knocking over Woody when he was giving him a hug because he was so excited to see him. But definitely the Scream and Go into the Incredicoaster, adding the theme to it was really well done. And the fact that they utilize the Scream tubes for Dash and for Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible. And for Violet, then at the very end, though, they have, Edna with Jack inside the home or whatever it is. I thought it was very well done, though I kind of do miss Gary Howe and his soundtracker. That one year they played the Red Hot Chili Peppers in both theme parks in 2007. Rockin' California Screaming and Rockin' Space Mountain. But I kind of wish they would have kind of left that apart, left that part of the park alone, though. I know they kind of redid the Golden State and Condor Flats. They redid the back lot several times. They obviously took out a Bugs Land, but I'm probably one who thinks it probably could have stayed Paradise Pier, but still you could have brought in the Pixar IP though. But I mean, if you make it a whole thing, it's still cool. I mean, I love the fact that they have all the characters out though with the Incredibles and in Frozone out at their place. And then Jesse and Buzz and Woody go out there by Midway Mania. And I think I would have liked to have seen it stayed Paradise Pier, but at the same time, everyone loves Pixar, so I have no problem with it.
Yeah, that's kind of my reasoning there. I can only draft what's in current state. I think I agree with both of you and all that, but it's an IP world and we're all living in it.
Yes, we are.
I will say, I think part of the reason why I thoroughly enjoy Pixar Pier.
Yeah.
It feels unfinished because of Paradise Gardens Park. It feels like they should have done everything, right? Because yes, the Little Mermaid ride is great for kids and stuff, but then you've got Jumpin' Jellyfish over there in the corner still, and Goofy
Bring
Sky
back
School's
the Rustworthy.
I just don't think they did enough. I think they should have gone all the way around. And yeah, Little Mermaid would have been a little bit of a tough blow to the fans of the movie. But you still have that ride in Florida, so you could have just mothballed it here and changed it to something else. I think that the Jumpin' Jellyfish not having a Finding Nemo theme. I mean, you didn't have to make new rides. You could have rethemed things. I don't know. I just sit here and go, Pixar Pier should have gone all the way around the corner. It even does during the I guess the Halloween time when the Coco stuff comes out over there by Goofy Sky School. It's like, okay, even more Pixar's bleeding out of here. Why didn't you guys do the whole thing? But that's just my opinion.
And who knows? They may not be done yet. We don't know.
You never know. You got the Pixar
Disneyland
place.
Forward.
Disneyland Forward. Oh boy. Can't wait to be doing this show for 50 more years. So that brings me to my fourth round pick. This is the 8th overall pick. And this is a land that has grown a little bit because it used to just encompass 2 attractions and now encompasses 3 because we said, goodbye, Condor Flats. We're calling you part of the Grizzly Peak area. I have to stay in Disney California Adventure. I'm going to be honest. I don't think DCA is going to make an appearance on this draft for the rest of the show. This kind of feels like the last one that's draftable, but that does not mean it's a bad land. I love the Grizzly Peak area. You go on Soarin', which, listen, it ain't no secret. We all miss soaring over California. We don't want it to be soaring around the world. I have not met one person who's like, I think they got it right when it went to around the world. I haven't met one person. But the You've got Smoke Jumpers, which is always pretty good food. They've got great shakes over there. Then
Bro, they got a frozen Jack and Coke there. Are you
I
kidding me?
was gonna
Let's
say
go.
this is that I was gonna
Eric
say
read
that's
my mind.
I remember when they first announced they were doing that. Eric was super excited about it. So
First in line, baby. First in line.
That's right.
but then you keep going and you get lost in the beauty that is the outskirts of the Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, and you get immersed in that whole area as you come around to the ride you will get drenched on when you go on Grizzly River Run. You ain't coming off dry, all right? And you can say, oh, well, I did it once. Well, it's not going to happen again. Lightning doesn't strike twice. But then you go and you do have Redwood Creek Challenge Trail for kids to absolutely blow all their energy on, and parents can sit on a bench and know that their kids are going to be fine in that area. I think that Grizzly Peak is a very underrated land when it comes to the resort, and that's why it was going to be on my top 10, because I think there's a lot of beauty in it. While there aren't I guess, is Soarin' officially classified as an e-ticket? I think it is, but it's probably.
I would think it would be an e-ticket.
Yeah, but like it doesn't have those huge rides, right? It doesn't have I have to go on Grizzly every single time, because I do not. I do not need to go on Grizzly every time. But I love going on Soarin'. I don't walk into Redwood Creek Challenge Trail every time, but it's nice that it's there. It's nice that you can go in there. And of course, they do the theming for it during the Halloween time and stuff. But I think Grizzly Peak is a great land because of the big tall trees and everything they've really immersed you in there. Grizzly Peak, Eric, is going number 8 here.
It's the only logical thing you could have done there. I wrote it in before you said it.
Yeah.
on the list when I'm
That's
tracking things. Yeah. One thing about Halloween time too, Villains Grove, wildly underrated. Oh, that's such an awesome trail. That's what I'll say about that. I mean, you did what you needed to do, and I agree with it 100%.
Grizzly Peak is probably one I didn't think would be on the list, honestly, because, well, and Christian hit the nail on the head, though, because, like, it should be soaring over California, not just for food and wine, but it should be soaring over California every day. It's not soaring around the world. This is not Florida. But, I think more like along what Christian was saying, though, I think about the theming of, like, you're walking through, like, the airfield, and this is supposed to be a thing for California's aviation history. But then you turn that bend to go by the Grand Californian as you're going by the rapids. Oh, this feels like Yosemite. This feels like, maybe Tahoe somewhere. This feels like NorCal. This is the Cal 49, which is up in the Redwood Creek Forest. This feels like Central Valley, California, outskirts of Southern California. So it's, the immersion is one thing, the theming is one thing. And definitely this is one I would not have thought that would have made the list. But I agree, though, about Smoke Jumpers, not because of the frozen Jack and Coke, though, but it's a good spot to go, though, and, get a quick bite to eat. Then you can go and ride Soarin' or get, hammered on the rapids, though. And then, and even I would even throw in the Zootopia meet and greet, which is kind of like right on the border of Paradise Gardens and with Grizzly Peak.
Yep. All right. So I've already lost this draft. That's great. So how about we just move on to Eric's final, or our final round, and then I'll be 0-5 and everything's great. Eric, go ahead.
Christian, we have history in the making here today. This is the first time since you and I started doing this podcast, this little ditty here, that I was able to select all 5 of my picks in order that I wrote down prior to the show, and I'm excited. I did go back and forth on this one a little bit, and then when I really looked at my options, I feel like it's the only thing I can do, and I am not sad about it, because I'm going to go back in time again and go to one of the early areas in Disneyland Park. I think you hit the nail on the head. We're not sticking around DCA anymore. Man, give me a kebab with any type of meat on it. I really don't care. Wrap some asparagus and bacon. Let me go see some fake animals and quite possibly experience the best Disneyland Park attraction of all time in the eyes of a lot of people. I'm going to Adventureland because of Indy, because of Jungle, because of the Tiki Room, my goodness. And because of Bengal barbecue, because I love it so much, and because of a Dole Whip. You're welcome. Adventureland number 5.
That's it's somewhat of a surprise to me, but it also isn't. It's weird. But Adventureland is great if you love getting bottlenecked with 5,000 other people. I don't love the layout of the land, I'm going to be honest, but the attractions there are delightful. I was going to say delicious because I'm already thinking about talking about Bengal barbecue. But Bengal barbecue's there too, and it's delicious. Callan, what do you think of Adventureland?
Adventureland is always one I have to go to, whether it's the Jungle Cruise or, obviously Indy. I think Eric's right. It's definitely, I think Indy ranks top 5 in every Disneyland fanatics ride list, I'd say, because of, it's only been around since 95, but from day one, it's been a thing you have to go on. And, going back into like the 1930s in the Lost River Delta of India, and then the long walk through the temple, through the bat caves, tapping skulls and saying, hang in there, buddy. The spikes, the spikes falling, don't pull the rope, don't touch the pole, don't step on the diamond path. The immersion and the theming as you're walking from the temple to the show building itself, though, and then, just the feel, though, but then knowing, though, when you get on that ride, though, that it's going to be, you're going to have a great time, though, but it's all the stuff happening around you. Again, the beetles hissing at you, the flames, from the skull of the idol, the laser beams, the snake, the mudslide, all the skulls, and of course the boulder scene, when it actually works properly, so I would agree about Adventureland because of Indy. The Jungle Cruise, of course, park classic. Tiki Room is always a good place to go and sit, relax, take a load off the feet, though. Christian, I will agree, though, with you. It is probably, other than Fantasyland, though, by the carousel, is probably the second worst bottleneck in the entire resort, though, probably.
Yeah, Callan, by the end of this, I just want you to remember that he's got the 2 worst bottlenecks on his list. I don't think that's going to help me. But no, Adventureland's a great land, but it is not great when it comes to guest control. That's all I'm going to say. All right, my final pick. I will tell you right now, if this was 1955, my pick would be different. If we were in 2000, my pick would be different, because at the time, Tomorrowland was kind of cool. Tomorrowland is not cool anymore. It's awful, and it's pretty publicly known. And every time D23 comes around, you're like, oh, I wonder what they're going to announce about Disneyland's Tomorrowland. And then it's never anything. And so Tomorrowland's not on this list. What I'm going to go with, there are a couple of options here, but what I'm going to go with is the land that now has the greatest queue that Disney has ever created as far as nostalgia goes. And that's Mickey's Toontown. If you go over and ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the queue is phenomenal. But it's not just the queue that makes this land great. I think the attraction is great. They needed a new kids ride in Toontown because Roger Rabbit's still kind of scary for little kids, let's be honest. And of course you've got Gadget's Coaster, or now whatever they're Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster, whatever they renamed it to. But I think the land in general is so much more of a different feel than it was 2 years ago. I kind of remember going, why are they shutting down the whole land? Why wouldn't you just add a ride? But now I get it. I get why they did it. They had to redo the entire land to truly make it feel like a Toon world. And I think they did. I think you go over to Daisy's for decent food options now. It's not just a microwave piece of pizza. They've got other stuff over there. And you still do have Roger Rabbit. You still have the coaster. The meet and greets, every kid wants to meet Mickey Mouse. And yes, you might get shooed through about 20 seconds of, oh, take a picture and get out. But you have that opportunity in Toontown. And so that's why I'm going Toontown over the other options of Critter Country and Tomorrowland and maybe Frontierland. Now, I got to go Toontown on this list. So there we go. Toontown, the 10th overall pick in the draft of Disneyland lands, Eric.
Yeah, you did the right thing. With everything remaining, you did the right thing. I will leave it at that and pass it over to Callan.
Yeah, I mean,
it's over. We know. Just move on.
No, I was going to say, you said Tomorrowland, and you made my ears perk up for a second there. But no, I agree about Toontown, and I for one don't usually spend a lot of time in Toontown. I don't. But at the same time, though, I mean, I totally get where Disney was coming from when they revamped the whole land, because how can you have Disneyland, like the original park, not have a ride for Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, let alone Mickey himself, though, other than just the meet and greet that they do with the kids and stuff, and then the whole retheming of like Gadgets Go Coaster. Roger Rabbit, I agree, Christian, is still, it's a fun ride, but probably not aimed at kids. And also, it was like we said though one time about kids nowadays, do they identify more with Mickey Mouse, or like with the Avengers, or with A Bug's Life in California Adventure? So it's more of a thing of like, do families nowadays tie more into Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or with Mickey and Minnie? And I would probably go the route of Mickey and Minnie for sure on that aspect. But I'm glad though that Toontown got some TLC though. I think because I remember those days, like the Jolly Trolley running around and tripping over the tracks and things like that. And but I'm still glad
for days.
I'm still glad though they kept like the Gag Factory. They kept like all the cool like little like the weight, the gym area, the fireworks shop. They kept all those cool little elements around in the area. And I'm mainly glad though that Toontown, kind of has become a bit more family friendly, I guess. They have the whole picnic area now. They got the giant dreaming tree. They've made it more accessible for kids, maybe, or families who have strollers, wheelchairs for that matter. But definitely, Toontown for sure needed some sort of a facelift or, renovation of some type.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I have the well, I mean, you got to go here, otherwise the pick's just awful in both parks here, so that's great. Before we get to the judging part of this, as this draft has officially come to a close, Callan, I feel like I know the answer, but I might not. Do you think that anything we left off should be on this list instead of somewhere we went?
So I jotted down everyone's picks. I'm just thinking of like what was left. So we left Critter Country on the board. We left Frontierland on the board. Tomorrowland for sure. Even as much as I love Tomorrowland, I agree with Christian, because we all get our hopes up for D23 of like Tomorrowland is going to be, what are you going to do? You have you have the Innovations building. I'm sorry, the Carousel of Progress building is sitting there dormant. Not the rocket rods, the People Mover tracks are sitting dormant with weeds and trees falling on top of them. It's like, because I think back, Christian, like you said, about the 50s, about how it was a giant company corporate sponsor showcase. Kaiser Aluminum, Dutch Boy Paints, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea walk through at one point. And then you think about when the rocket jets were around, but on top of the People Mover platform. The Observatron hasn't moved in like what 15 years, it seems like. I mean, I miss hearing the Paris theme song for Space Mountain, and hearing the Timekeeper theme song and Iron Will and all that sort of stuff. Though I get about the submarine ride, though I feel like I know about Finding Nemo and stuff, but I think the original one was fine the way that it was. But there's just so much unoccupied spacing. But I think the one thing that breaks people's back about Tomorrowland, you have an entire area for Star Wars. Put Star Tours in Galaxy's Edge. Bring back Inner Space. Bring back something to that building that fits the mold of Tomorrowland. Then Critter Country, other than the retheming of Splash Mountain, Winnie the Pooh, pretty good restaurant in the Hungry Bear. I like the Hungry Bear personally. But then you have, the Winnie the Pooh character meet and greet, the Pooh Corner. Again, not a whole lot going on in Critter Country. Frontierland, Big Thunder Mountain, though, is a ride I have to I do have to do, though. But other tthan that, though, other than Big Thunder and Rancho del Zocalo, there's not much else really to do unless you want to go and pretend to be, unless you want to go and shoot at the shooting gallery. But, probably, but they also have a very good pin store for pin traders there. But again, after that, though, not a lot. California Adventure, I believe we left off the Backlot or Hollywood
Hooray
Land.
for Hollywood.
We left off Buena Vista Street. Buena Vista Street was also one. The Wharf, San Francisco Square. I do like that idea that they're still kind of keeping that San Francisco / like Monterey, Cannery Row theme, but now it's been rethemed. Like, all the tech gurus are coming in and things like that. I
Hold
think
on.
Chris wanted
Hold
to
on.
rebuttal.
No, hold on. You're a San Diego guy. They just removed the Carl Strauss beer truck. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the worst land in the entire property now. That's it. It's it. I hate it now. I hate it. I hate it. Anyway,
I mean,
keep going.
I
You
mean,
have much better
the
points than
only
me.
good thing though is that Carl Strauss is still served at Bayside Brews though,
True.
way over in Paradise. But I agree though about the truck though. But I think, but at the same time though, is you're bringing a very popular film. I think a lot of people loved Big Hero 6. I remember the meme that people shared, like, as much as people love Let It Go, I want people to also teach their kids about Immortals by Fall Out Boy to make it just as popular as Let It Go, by Idina Menzel though. But I do like though that they're in a way making it more of like almost like Fisherman's Wharf, almost, but also bringing in everything, with San Francisco Square though. But again, it was mainly a spot for Ghirardelli, sourdough bread bowls with chili or clam chowder, Carl Strauss, and I do love Cocina Cucamonga. And if anything, I'm very glad though that they're keeping all the stuff there. I just want them to bring in Aunt Cass's restaurant. I've been clamoring for that when they do in fact do this remodel though of the wharf into the square. And I think that's all that we left off the list. But honestly, if I was ranking, if I was drafting, I wouldn't have put any of those in my 5. I think you guys basically hit all the big ones that definitely should have been a part of this episode.
All right, Eric, it's that time to run down the list. And then Callan's going to talk about how you won, which is fine. I understand it already. But go ahead, Eric, run down the list and tell us what we picked.
Hey, you don't know. We'll find out here shortly. All right, my 5 picks. I started off with Fantasyland, then Cars Land, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Pixar Pier, and Adventureland. And Christian went with New Orleans Square, Avengers Campus, Main Street, USA, Grizzly Peak, and Mickey's Toontown. And I agree with both of you. I think those were the 10. It was just a matter of the combo of 5 each. So let's turn it over to Callan McClurg for today's winner.
Christian, I'm sorry, but it's Eric who wins again.
Yeah, I know. Oh, and
but
5.
I will say though that Christian, you had me at the first 2, but at the very end though, kind of, Galaxy's Edge over Main Street, sadly for me. I did like, but again, though, I really did like that Grizzly Peak got some love, though, because that was a property, that, like I said, all 3 of us agree that it should be soaring over California. It's not soaring around the world, though. But, Pixar Pier having the coaster there and things like that. And then, like I said, I don't spend a lot of time in Toontown, sadly. So Eric picking Adventureland. And I agree, though. I think having Indy is a big thing. The Jungle Cruise as well, though. But yeah, the judge will side with Eric 3-2.
I'm not even gonna react to that. I'm just gonna let it be what it be.
Yeah, whatever. All right, Callan. Well, here's your whatever. Anyway, Callan, your soapbox moment. Tell the people what you got going on in your life. You were kind enough to take some time out of your busy schedule to be a guest with us here at Drafting the Magic. But what do you got going on in your life right now, sir?
Not a lot, honestly. With sports kind of being in the off season, I'm doing a lot of freelance announcing work for some local little leagues here, for some local high schools here, doing some work on the side. And then once August hits, I'll be back doing collegiate athletics at the University of San Diego, and then getting back into the swing of things with minor league hockey and professional indoor soccer come October, November, and December.
He's living the dream, Christian. He's living the dream.
No kidding. As the sports guys that all 3 of us are, it's really cool to have a sports guy along with us here for this draft. Callan, thank you so much for joining us. I know, like you said, we had been working on this for a very long time, and finally the schedules aligned. It also helped that we started doing the show again. But finally the schedules aligned, and we are glad to have had you here with us, sir.
I am glad to have joined you guys, and I'm sure I'll see you guys at a game or at the park eventually sometime in the future. But thanks again. Let's do this again, though, sometime in the future. This was really fun. Thanks again for having me.
Oh, my goodness. For the first time ever, a 5-game winning streak, and it belongs to you, Mr. Pesolano, a quarter of the way through our season, if we are doing a 20-episode season, and I am not on the board yet.
You and I have a very pessimistic outlook on a lot of things, and just I revel in all of this, but I just feel like the tide is going to turn soon for me. So I've just got to be on my game. I got to do a lot more research for further shows. I did a lot for today, of course, but was your downfall there, and everything just kind of fell into a good place for me, and I'm not going to be upset about it.
It's embarrassing. I'm not happy with myself, and I don't know if people are going to keep listening to the show at some point because the outcome seems inevitable. But regardless, a great show. Callan was great. A lot of Disney insights from him.
Yep.
For someone who doesn't live close to a resort like we do, he does live down in that San Diego area. Still comes up, still has a great time, and was a great guest for our show. For episode 25. Oh my gosh. We'll figure out a gift thing like you mentioned in the intro. We'll figure out gifts for each other. We probably won't do that.
No, we won't do that.
I don't want to be honest. But
we're just trying to be funny. That's all.
You know what I want to do, Eric?
Yeah.
I want to win next episode. I want to win.
Imagine you do.
I'm dying, and so maybe one more week, maybe 10 more weeks. I'm coming for a win next week, my guy.
You'll get there. You'll get there. You just got to be patient. They say good things come to those who wait. Keep waiting, my friend. That's all I'm saying.
Waiting I shall do.